Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to the halftime report for March of 2023. This month, it's been all Marvel superheroes for me. I've really enjoyed it. I've used some pens that I haven't used for a while. I've used some new favourites and I've used a couple of old favourites. Been really good. First pen that I had is this. This is the golden Sassafras. This is a handmade pen, came from Tasmania. In there, I found that the ink looked really nice. It was Dominant Industry Forest. It was a really nice bright green ink. I quite like that ink. I've got in a number of pens at the moment. The pen itself, when it writes beautifully. Only downside with it, just look at this section. Hopefully I can get that so you can see that. It's just so thin. It makes it really uncomfortable for me to use. Cartridge converter, this one's empty. I had enough of it, to be honest. It was just so uncomfortable. So when that ran out, I didn't bother to refill it. And I brought in another pen instead. It's nice. I mean, it represented Groot. I thought it was a good pick. But writing experience just wasn't really what I wanted. Next, we've got the Parker Frontier even. This is the oldest pen that I've owned for the longest. That's the best way I can describe it. I've had this since 2002. I have got another Parker pen, which was made in 1996, but it only came into my possession last year. Really disappointed with this pen. The nib is very, very scratchy. Now, I think that's a result of years of misuse by me when obviously when I first had it. I can remember, I know I pressed down hard on it, I knocked it, really did misuse it. So the nib, I've done a little bit of work, I need to do more. One issue I've got with this pen is it seems to have ink leaking somewhere because as you can see by my fingers, every time I use it, it's got ink all over the section and I end up with that all over my hands. I have a cartridge in here. I just refill it. It's not one that came in. It is a Parker cartridge, but I refilled it. So I put Diamine Earl Grey in there. I do have a converter, but I'm not overly impressed by the converters for these pens. So it's another pen I was actually quite disappointed with. And it's nearly out of ink. I'll be washing this out today. My next pen, the Wrangler Model 5. It's a big pen. Represents the Hulk. I didn't say, did I? This one was represented by the Silver Surfer. So the Hulk, one of the comic characters I can remember reading from my childhood. And if you're of roughly the same age as me, chances are you'll remember the Incredible Hulk with Bruce somebody or other and Lou Ferrigno. I used to enjoy watching that as well. I know, such a nerd, aren't I? Nice pen, this. Nice chunky pen. Fits really well in the hand. Cartridge converter, it is possible to eyedropper it. I've got no intention of doing that. This is the third fill of this pen this month. Been absolutely loving it. I really enjoy using this. And the ink in here is Robert Oster Tranquility. And I thought that was quite an apt one because for the Hulk to go back to be Bruce Banner, he has to calm down a bit. So Tranquility, thought really good idea there. Just going to turn over my page. And I've got my notes down here. That's why I keep looking down. Pilot E95S. That was the next pen. This one just brought in mind to me Iron Man. Really do. And I actually do think it's a good match for that. It's a good way of fetching him in. I love this pen. It's one of my fairly newish pens. It's got a 14 karat gold nib. There's the nib. Another one, it's a cartridge converter, but again, I don't use a converter. The problem is with a converter, you can't actually see the ink level. So I've just got an old Pilot cartridge there, which again, I refill. In here now, I've got Diamine Merlot. I thought Tony Stark here, he'd be drinking Merlot, wouldn't he? So I thought another good match. Really enjoy this. It's nice. Apart from them first two pens, I've got to be honest, I've enjoyed all the pens. Pen number 5. This is the Leonardo Momento Magico. This is in meal. I've got in here Diamine Blaze Orange. It's a really nice orange ink. And this, to me, represents the Thing. So that's Ben Grimm from the Fantastic Four. You know, we've got here, just the way the patterning is, reminds me a bit of his skin, which is that orange colour, and it looks like it's made from rocks, and so there's no real pattern to it. And that's what I see in this. It's really nice. Piston filling pen. Very nice, generous ink window, so I can see the ink. This did run out early on in the month, so I refilled it with the same ink. I love this ink in this pen. The other thing I did do at the time is I pulled out the nib and feed. I actually pulled it out and I ran it through my my ultrasonic cleaner. What I did that for is I was seeing some railroading. Since putting it through the cleaner, and obviously that means I reseated the nib on the feed, that seems to have reduced. There's still a little bit, but nowhere near as much. Now, apologies if you can hear this on the mic. Hopefully I can edit it out. We've gone all summer and the streets have never been cleaned by the council. 2 days in a row now, we've had the road sweeper out, so it's just going past the house, so you may hear a bit of that. My last pen that I started the month with, again fairly new to me, Waterman Karen. This is in marine amber. It's I don't know how to describe it. It's like a really dark crimson, nearly like an ochre or a really dark amber, which I think is where they can get the marine amber from. Very nice pen. 18 karat gold nib. Very similar to the E95S in that it's an inlaid nib. These are my only 2 pens like that at the moment. Another pen, cartridge converter. There we go. Actually do use a converter for this one. Now, like with the E95S, I started the month with Diamine Writer's Blood. They both ran out about the same time, so I've changed the ink in here, and it's now, my Diamine Claret. Now, this is where I think my brain may have got a little bit muddled. I think actually the Claret is in the Pilot E95S, and it might be the Merlot in this one. They are very different colours, but because they're wine colours, I keep getting them muddled up. But I'll be able to tell you more details in the end of month video about that. Again, I'm forgetting to tell you, I thought this is Daredevil. The pen I brought in is a Jinhao 35, all black. Here we go. In here, I've got Pure Pens Welsh Gold. It's a black ink, but it's got a gold shimmer. And if I can unscrew that, you can hopefully see the gold shimmer there as it lays in the converter. I've been a little bit disappointed. It's a fine nib, and I think that's been the issue. I'm not seeing the shimmer when I write, I just see the black ink. I think maybe I need to try that in a broad nib, or even a stud nib, to see what it's like with that ink. But I thought this combo, Black Panther, is what jumped to mind, especially if I'd have seen that sparkle when I was writing. That's what I was hoping for, and just didn't see it. So a bit disappointed by that. Just going to turn the page. I know, lots of page turning today, isn't there? So my talking point in this video is actually to try and start setting up next month's pens in use. Next month's pens in use is going to be about pens that I think are good value. Not pens that are cheap, but pens that are good value. Now, when I talk about value, it's very difficult because everybody has got their own interpretation, doesn't it? What I always ask myself with every single pen, does it let me get ideas out of my head and onto paper in a way that I enjoy? And that's what I try to judge the value by. Does it let me get the ideas out of my head and onto paper? If it writes consistently, yes it does. If it skips a lot, if there's problems with the feed, if there's problems with flow, it's not letting me get the ideas out of my head, is it? So that reduces the value to me. And then similarly, in a way that I enjoy. This again, very, very personal because we all enjoy different things. I like a little bit of feedback. I like consistency. I like to be able to pick a pen up and start writing. But I also like some brightness in my inks. You know, this month I've had Earl Grey and that black ink. They're fine. I don't mind using them, but I wouldn't want to be consistently using them. You know, this is what I love about Robert Oster Tranquility. Absolutely love the colour. I like green inks. I like bright blues. I like turquoises. Don't mind reds. And as we saw with this, with the Leonardo, actually quite enjoy orange inks. I'm quite surprised at times. And then brown inks. Don't get me started on brown inks. I haven't had a brown ink for ages, but they're one of my favourite colours. And 2 years ago, before I bought my first one, if you'd have said that, I'd have thought there was something a bit kooky, because I would never have liked brown inks. Now, I absolutely love them. So this is where the idea of value for money comes from. Let me just turn over. I've got loads and loads of notes. I'm not reading them. They're just there to make sure I stay on track. So that's really where the idea of value for money from. Do I enjoy using it? Does it write well? And then that's when I start to look at price. You know, I've got some $2 pens that write absolutely fantastic. I've got some $150, $200 pens. They are absolutely horrible to write with. I hate using them. So it's not about price. That's not where the value for money comes from. Because a $2 pen that writes well is going to tick all the boxes. But, you know, I haven't got it actually handy at the moment. But, for example, my Pilot Custom 823, that cost me a lot of money. But I absolutely love writing with it. I love the line I get from it. I love the way it feels. I love the way the inks I've got in there, they're normally shading inks. I love to see that. That just fetches so much character. And yes, it's not going to appear in this month's selection because, you know, as much as I'd like to say it's value for money, it's not. It's a special treat, but it's enjoyable. So yes, price will come in. And I think with the pens that I'm currently planning on using, this is my current starting lineup. I've only got 5 out of the 6 identified so far. What I'm thinking is the maximum I'll be paying about 45 Aussie dollars for one of them. So they're not, as I say, cheap pens, but you know they will be going, hopefully, if it stays in, from this Jinhao 992, which was $2, and then the most expensive one, it's not actually in there. I'm thinking of using a TWSBI Eco, which was about $45. So that's my talking point. This is what I'm going to be looking at next month. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. What are your thoughts on value for money? What are your thoughts on the pens you've been using this month? Please drop your comments down below. Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button every time you like, every time you comment. Just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.